All right. How's everybody doing? Dax here. Video 5 of the 5 pillars of tattoo business. This is beneficial for both tattoo artists working in a shop as well as shop owners. All right. So before we jump into this, I'm going to give a second so that you guys can grab a paper and a pen, just like I spoke in the last 4 videos over the last 4 days. And if you just tuned in, we're going to give a couple minutes for people to jump on here. If you just tuned in, comment below where you're tuning in from. And let me know some information about you. I like to make these things interactive, just so it doesn't make it fucking weird that I'm staring at a piece of plastic with a camera in it and just talking to myself. So let's make this thing positive. Let's make it fun. Come out the shadows. Drop a comment where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment how you heard about me. Drop a comment if one of my big questions is, have you watched the other videos? Were you tuned into the other videos or did you miss them? They were on my Instagram Live over the last couple of days. I'd like to know. Okay, so video 5. This video is on retention. And what retention is in the business terms, everybody understands it, but in tattooing, you're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dax? I don't know if I've ever heard a tattoo artist even say that word retention. Before we get into retention and what this class is about, I want to recap on what we did in the last video. In video 4, the pillar was on delivery, okay? We talked about the tattoo quality that you do. We talked about specializing versus well-rounded. We talked about tattooing speed. We talked about designing quality. We talked about designing speed. We talked about aftercare and how important that is and how we can improve that process on our delivery. We also talked about healing the tattoo, so educating our clients on the aftercare. So I hope you did the action steps yesterday. The homework I gave you was to write down a sheet just like right here with 3 questions or three pieces of information. So you write pillar 4 at the top. You're going to rate yourself on a 0 to 5 once you answer these questions. So the first one is what is your process? So yesterday, if you did the homework, you wrote down your process of how you deliver, how many years of experience you have, what style you specialize in, or what strengths and weaknesses you have. And if you wrote down your weaknesses, you're probably already starting to think about things that you can improve, right? I know yesterday some of the people talked about, I could improve in digital design so it didn't take me as long to design. That's a great idea because sometimes digital designing can take a couple hours per day, and over a long period of time, it accumulates into a lot of time that you could have been spending with your family or improving your skills. And the more proactive and productive you get with your time, the more your time becomes valuable. And that's how you get your time back. Let's get into it. So, retention, all right? What does retention mean? The retention phase, the 5th pillar of this, basically means how do you keep your customers, okay? When we're talking about how does something retain water, how does your body retain water, that means how does it hold your water? So when it comes to this, how do you hold your customers and keep their attention and keep them coming, okay? How do you do that? That's what this pillar is about. And the false belief that a lot of tattoo artists think about is just do a good tattoo and they'll stick loyal to you. And that does work, it does, but there's ways to improve that. And if we don't look at those, if we just say this is the way it is and I'm good on this, we stopped growing, okay? And while we stopped growing, there's somebody in our local area that didn't use that excuse and says, hey, I want to do something better. I want to do something better for my clients. That's how passionate I am. I want to help my clients on a deeper level because there's always something I can improve. And that's the people that this video is going to help. So how do we retain our clients on a higher level? Because the truth is doing good work, it works, but it's not the best way. There's more things we can do. And I hope you can agree with this. So what can we do? all right? Doing good work, it can work, but at the same time, what if somebody, like for example, what if somebody comes to you for your quality of work, you stop improving and growing, and then somebody opens a shop down the street and does your same style but better, and maybe they give it away for cheaper. Do you think those clients are gonna come to you again? I don't know. You'll have to decide, but I have plenty of clients coming to me from other shops that believe that shit, that believe that just do good work and they'll stick loyal to us. Your personality matters, your work matters, and everything, keeping their attention matters, okay? So let's get into that. So how do we, number one of the best ways is continue to post on social media with all those people and continue to just keep in touch with them. That is the most simple way to continue to retain your clients. And for all the artists out there that aren't using social media deeply and always in their customers' attention, because that's where people's attention are. People are looking at their phones more than they're looking at the road while they're driving. And so also, if you think location matters with your shop, just know it don't, because even if somebody drives past your shop, they're more likely to be looking on your phone, on their phone, than your actual business, okay? So it's much better to be on their phone and where their attention is, rather than try to fight where people are putting their attention. Just put your business where they're already putting their attention. Does that make sense? Comment yes below. That way I know everybody here is understanding me. So how do we keep our attention? One of the simple ways, one of the little easy tips I'm gonna give you is just continue to post on social. If you're not consistently active on social, you're losing people's attention. And while you don't post on there, there's another artist in your area that's posting on social media and catching attention to some of your clients. That's very possible, okay? But that's not the only thing this has to do. So let's talk about that. So the retention pillar also involves, so retention, how do we keep the clients? Boom. Also, resell. This is also the pillar that has to do with getting somebody in for their next tattoo or a bigger tattoo. So resell, upsell, and also if they have unfinished work, say you start half sleeve, okay? This is the pillar that you want to focus on if you have a bunch of unfinished sleeves out there and you want them to come back in and finish their work, okay? So resell, upsell, what else? Referrals. How many of you guys like referrals? Comment I. So we got referrals, and we also have new products or services. So that is everything that's involved in this pillar, okay? Real quick before we go on, I want you to drop a comment on your process right now. I'm interested to hear, how are you retaining clients? Are you using word of mouth? Are you upselling your customers? Explain a little bit about your process. If you are doing that stuff, when are you doing it and how are you doing it? I like to hear. When somebody has an unfinished sleeve, how are you getting them back in to get that finished when most people kind of put that off for months, if not years? Let me know. I'd like to hear about it. So retention, resell, upsell, referrals, new products. Now, why does all this matter? Why does this pillar matter? This pillar matters, and it's the easiest, by the way, I want to say this is the easiest one to improve first off. I'm going to give you an easy action step you could do today just to improve this, all right? I hope you're excited for that. Is it okay if I over-deliver? Because that's what I'm going to do. So, but let's talk about what all this equals, all right? So the whole goal with the fifth pillar, which is the last pillar, is to raise customer worth. Raise customer worth, okay? And you do this by getting them in more times, getting them in for bigger products, bigger tattoos, getting them into finished tattoos, also offering them new products, new services if you can. Like for example, some tattoo shops offer shirts for sale. That has to do with retention. They improve retention by adding shirts, by adding shop shirts. Some people offer aftercare for an additional 20 bucks or some shit like that. I recommend just giving it for free, but if you charge 20 bucks, that would be considered retaining and adding to your customer worth. For example, if they get a $200 tattoo, you upsell them to the shirt, it costs 25 bucks. Now the customer's worth 225 bucks rather than the 200. So retention is all about increasing what your customers give you as far as money. All right, and by the way, it's always easier to sell somebody who's already built the trust with you and already bought from you. That's why this one is the one you want to focus on if you want to make more, because you're able to sell these people a lot easier than somebody who just walked in the shop or never heard about you. And this is one of the biggest buried gold mines that a lot of artists don't dig. And I'm going to show you how to dig it after this. So I hope you're excited. So raising our customer worth, or, which is an additional one, raising our customer volume. And what that means is referrals and simple. So raising our customer worth, raising our customer volume. I hope you guys are writing this down. I know on Team Savage we're always writing things down because we know that we retain information a lot better when we write it down. I hope you're smart because that's what it takes. So I just gave you a couple examples. Comment yours below. What is your process? I'm interested to know. How are you retaining clients?
The tattoo clown says, I make sure they had a great experience, give them a sticker, make sure they feel real comfortable contacting me for anything in the future.
Boom. Great. I like that, Tattoo Clown. Good to see you join on here, man. It's good talking to you the other day. So why does that work? And what is really there? What does that do? So I think that's smart because giving a sticker to your client or something like that after you're done tattooing them, now they can go put that sticker on something or go put it somewhere, right? Which the goal of that is to bring another customer, right? It's to bring a referral. So great job, but just know there's always a way to improve. So that's just one way. And here's the deal, guys. Once we know our customer worth today, like the first time they buy, the average customer worth, and then we know the average customer worth after a year, then we can make predictable marketing and advertising decisions as a business owner and know that it's going to be worth it. It's not a matter of is it worth it or not, because a predictable business system will give you a predictable way to put money in and get a specific amount out, okay? At some point, if you're using this system that I'm teaching you correctly, you're going to be able to have a predictable system for tattooing, and advertising and growing your business no longer becomes a guessing game or an overwhelming situation where you don't know where to put your focus on. That's the whole goal with this. For example, I know for every advertisement dollar that I spend, for every $4 on advertisement that I spend on offering on Facebook an all-day tattoo session, I get, for every $4, I get $32, okay? And that's after my artist split. It's actually $78, but there's a split. So for the business, which matters to me when it comes to profits and re-advertising, for every $3 I put into this thing, it's cashing me out. It's cashing me out. So do you see how that worked? And that's what I want to help you do, because having a predictable business is so much more comforting, and you can walk with confidence and just feel good with what you do with your time, never stress about shit, rather than having an unpredictable business. And 99% of tattoo shops are unpredictable businesses because they're focused there. You know, if you're only relying on word of mouth and referrals, you have an unpredictable business. Why? Because you can't control when that person refers people or how many people are referred. But if you're spending money on advertisements and you're doing it the right way, you are in complete control of, at some point, exactly how many customers come in. Once you know your numbers. So like I said, if I spend $4 on advertising, we're making a certain amount back, right? 78 back before the artist and shop split. So if I know that, how many times would I keep putting $4 in? Okay, it's like, imagine a casino or a slot machine. If you could put $4 in and get 78 back and then make your cut with your artist, how many times would you do that? Okay, I'm gonna keep doing that and I'm gonna keep growing it. And so for example, if I'm spending $2,000 on advertisement and I know every $4 equals somebody that's gonna get a tattoo, I could pull a huge amount of, you can do the math, but I can pull a huge amount of customers that want all day sessions out of spending $2,000 in advertisement. Could probably book a couple months of just straight all day sessions once I have a predictable system. And another thing I want to bring up is in this pillar is offers, okay? Offers are different than services or products. An offer, you saying you charge $100 an hour is not an offer, that's an hourly rate. An offer is a bundle of stuff that you give for a price, and usually it's a discounted price. So if you've ever seen some of those infomercials on TV late at night, they start off like this, and there's a reason why they do this. Here's the thing, guys, tattoo artists might say, oh, the ShamWow guy's cheesy, or the infomercials are cheesy and they come off salesy. Well, they work, okay? They work. There's a science to why they're doing it. It's been a science of selling and marketing for years and years and years and years, and it's based on psychology of buying. So there's a reason why it works. And so basically, as an example, you'll see the guy on TV and he says, for $29.99 you can get this cool knife. But wait, if you order now, I'm gonna add this in it, and 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 they add this offer, and then they slice down the price, and then they offer it to you, and that's an offer, okay? If you work a really solid offer, that's always gonna be better than just offering an hourly rate. It always is, but you gotta create the right offer. There's many ways to do offers. It's really advanced, so I'm not gonna talk about that in this video. But an example of one could be, hey, I'll do the tattoo, your design included, I'm paying for all my own supplies, and I'm giving you the aftercare process, all for this price. Okay, that would be one way of creating an offer. A lot of the times, a lot of the stuff we include into our tattoo price, we should also let every single client know that we're including that and what it's worth, so that they, even if we're giving it for free, so that they can at least understand that there is a value, a dollar amount to it. Okay, even if you're giving it to them for free. That's very important because it's directly related to how much they value you. For example, if a kid comes from another country and you give them a Ferrari and they don't know anything about Ferraris, but you give them one for free, they're gonna have fun with it, right? But they might not even know that it's like $500,000 worth. And then if you give it to somebody else who you do tell them, hey, this car is worth $500,000, and imagine the difference in how that person will drive that car, act in that car, and just treat the car, okay? Even if you gave it for free, you have to give a price value because people need to see a number to value something a lot of the times, at least at the level that you want it to. So if you have any questions, drop them below. I'd like to answer some questions on this video. Does this make sense? Comment yes if it does. I want to make sure I'm not going too far out into space. I want to make sure you guys are understanding what I'm doing.
So Wolfgang, Mr. Luke says, using incentive tools, example, the more people you refer, the better your prices get while offering professionally a fun environment that makes them feel more welcome and wanting to come back.
Wait, so what's he saying?
That's what his process is, using incentive tools.
Incentive tools. Okay, so what an incentive tool is basically, so for example, I believe what he's saying is he gives them a certain credit towards a tattoo for every referral they bring, and that's a really great one. That's an example you should definitely do if you're not. If you're making more than $50 on a tattoo, I would offer a $50 referral credit for every person that's going to, of your clients, that's going to refer people. And the reason why is because nobody's going to offer a $50 credit referral. Most people just offer $10, $20, or they don't even offer it. They just say, hey, refer business. What better way to get somebody to encourage them to come to you again, not only to finish their tattoo or get more, but to also bring their friends in. Give them some money for doing it, right? That's what an incentive is. So you're basically bribing them by saying, here's a credit worth, and we'll just keep collecting this for your next session. Just keep bringing me clients. Great way to offer incentives. By the way, how many of you guys are doing that? Say, I am right now, because I want to know. And if you're not, start that today, okay? That should be on your weaknesses sheet when we get to the worksheet. New products. And also, for example, just on my other business, on my educational business, you probably already understand that I run both a tattoo shop and an educational marketing business for tattoo shops. So in our situation, we offer first a social media course, okay? It's valued at $197. We give it for $27. Now, how are we able to keep people coming back to us? We offer them an Instagram marketing service done for them, and they're going to keep getting clients. So why wouldn't they keep paying us when they're making more than what they're paying, okay? They're getting a bunch of clients every month. They're only paying this X amount per month. It makes sense to keep doing over and over again. So we have that continuing thing, and we've also, every person that's bought the social course, we found that 65% of them, I think that's the stats, right? 65% of them also jump on to our marketing service, and it's a monthly payment. So everybody that just paid $27, 60% of them just jumped in and paid extra. So now they're worth more than $127. They bump up from $27 to $127 just in the first month. But then the next month, now they give us another 100 or whatever, and then it just keeps increasing. Does that make sense? So. And then also I have a high advanced mentorship training program, which I've talked about a little bit, and that one's over $1,000. So some of the people are getting the $27 course, and then they jump in and pay $1,000 for this life-changing mentorship program, and then now they're worth $1,000, more than $1,000. Does that make sense? And that's what the customer is worth. So the whole goal with retention, whether you're on a tattoo shop or if you understand the example I just used for my other business, that is what retention is about. It's all about upsell, resell, referrals, new products, and new services. That's kind of how it works. So I'll just throw some examples out there. So you could offer art, you could offer art prints, you could offer the aftercare process, you could offer shirts, you could offer bigger sessions, something along those lines. If you got a question of what you could offer and if I would or not, drop that below. You might have some questions of like, I don't know, maybe you're thinking of something you want to offer. I'll give you my feedback on if I would do it or not. But let's talk about the easiest way to get clients in that have unfinished work, okay? And the best, this comes down to follow-up, okay? It's a very simple thing. Following up with your customers, I would say when their tattoo heals. That simple. Send them a text. Hey, what's up, Billy? I just want to know how your tattoo healed. I really loved and enjoyed doing it and enjoyed hanging out with you for the day. How did it heal? Let me know. Send me some pictures. I'd love to hear. And then once they send you a picture and it's still unfinished, then it's like, all right, dude, well, let's get you in. Don't ask them. Say, let's get you in. It's time. You know I'm booking up quick. I'd like to get you in. We went from point A to point J, and I'd like to get you to point Z, which is what we both signed up for. So let's jump in and do it. Let's book you. Let's schedule you. And pretty much you're following up with them, seeing what's up and how they healed. At the same time, you're encouraging them to get back into the seat. And then, obviously, if you follow up with them and they are already finished, then rather than saying, hey, let's get you back in the seat to finish, you would either say, all right, so what's next? And a lot of the times people have 1,000 tattoo ideas, so you already know, all right, you wanted a Medusa. All right, Billy, when are we doing that Medusa you talked about? I was really pumped up about that one. And so you could do that. Or if they don't want that, then you could just say, all right, well, would you refer me to some friends? And if they say yes, did I do a good enough job? Awesome. All right, what can you refer me? Or what are some people, do you have anybody's number that has been talking to you about getting a tattoo from me? I'd love to reach out and talk to them, see if we're a good fit. Those are all different ways to add and increase your customer retention. You want to find out what works for you. Like I said in every other video of this, there's no perfect way. There's different ways, and it depends on what outcome you want. So that's what retention, resell, upsell, all that stuff is about. I just gave you an example of a quick way to get some people in. And that's why we track this stuff. If you're filling out consent forms or you're having them fill out release forms, consent forms, if you got the time today, it's Sunday, so you're either drinking a beer, watching football, praying to baby Jesus or Satan, or maybe smoking a joint, or watching this, or maybe a little mixture of all four of them. So today, what I would recommend you do is grab all your release forms, holler at your people, holler at all your clients, and just follow up with them. Start a bunch of conversations. See how that works for you. I guarantee if you hit up at least 10 people, one of them will book. And let me know when they do. Send me a DM and tell me if this shit works, because for me it's worked, and for every other artist I've told to do it, it works. It's easier to sell people who've already bought a tattoo from you than it is to sell a fresh tattoo to somebody who hasn't. So now back to you, okay? This is your homework for the day. You're going to want to write, you're going to want to get a fresh piece of paper and do 3 things. You're going to write your specific retention formula. What are you doing to retain your clients? Tattoo Clown said that he would do the tattoo and send them off with a sticker. Okay, what are you doing now? Secondly, what's your strengths about that? And thirdly, what's your weaknesses? Okay, and I'm just going to give you a couple examples that we do in my shop, because we've got a really advanced system. We've got artificial intelligence in it, and we got a bunch of automation. So a lot of this stuff, and I hire a lot of people too. So I've got hands everywhere doing these things for me, so that I can stay in my most powerful position and the most important position for me to be in, which is where are we steering this ship and things like that. So in our shop, one thing that we do is we have an automatic text message that goes out to every one of our customers 3 weeks after their tattoo, because we feel like that's about the time they'll be fully healed. And so we will follow up with them then. Then a week later, they get another text, hey, you ready to book another session? So that's one way that we do that. But also, we take care of the tattoo for them. If you watched the last video on how our aftercare process works, we bring them in for the second skin, we take it off for them, we wash it, and then we upsell them then too. So we have multiple follow-ups, and then also the artists follow up with them after 3 weeks on their own as well. So we have multiple follow-ups from different angles, and it doesn't come off as being bothersome, because we're following up with them not to sell them, that's secondary. We're following up with them to see how they healed, because ultimately our job isn't done as a tattoo artist once the tattoo walks out of the shop. It's done when they're healed and they're happy. So we're following up with them to finish the job, and then after that we're trying to start a new job. So does that make sense? So today you're going to do the homework, specific retention situation, your strengths, your weaknesses, and then you're going to rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 5 on retention, just like you did with lead generation, nurture, conversion, delivery, and now today, retention. So if you got any questions about this or anything that I've said, drop those below right now. I'd like to answer some of those. I'd like to, hopefully I can throw a couple more tips to you. But after this video, we're gonna take a little 15-minute break, 15-minute little break, and I'm gonna jump on here for something special. I'm gonna show you basically what it's gonna be is a business intensive training. We're gonna continue, and I'm gonna show you exactly, now that you've done all these and done the homework for these, now that you've followed me for the last 4 days and you've done all this stuff, I'm gonna show you, once you've diagnosed every part, what you do from there, okay? Where do you start? I'm gonna just go right into that. That way, excuse me, that way you've got everything about your business, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know your processes, and we're gonna talk about how to improve those. So go do the homework, and if you haven't watched the other videos, we're going to be releasing those as a course later on. I'm not exactly sure when. Depends on how long it takes to get edited and put out there, but I hope you guys did join us for the last couple videos, because they were all free. You know, that's my goal, is to push a bunch of stuff out to action takers, okay? And that's what we did over the last couple days. So I hope you guys did those. If you got any questions, hit my DM. But other than that, we're gonna wrap this one up and jump back in here in 15 minutes with another bonus special training, all right? So I hope you had a great one. Thank you for watching, and I really appreciate you giving me your attention. I hope you learned something.